when Priscilla was pregnant with Max and we were thinking about the world that we wanted her to grow up in, we kind of thought about the world is getting better in a lot of ways, right? But there are these big step change things that we can do in the world if we work together and really just invest in them, right? A lot of, rightfully a lot of the money that we spend as a society and the energy goes towards today's problems. But we all want the next generation of people to live a much better life than we've had the ability to. And, so you can ask these big questions like, can students learn 100 times more than they learn today? I think the answer to that is yes, and I'll get to why in a second. Can we, by the end of this century, get to a point where we can cure or treat all of the different diseases that come up in the world? I think the answer to that is yes. Can we build inclusive communities that are welcoming around the world? Can we effectively eliminate poverty and make sure that everyone has access to health care and help spread more equal rights? These I think are some of the big challenges that we have for the next generation. And I think we have a responsibility to invest in those. And some of these things I actually think no one will be able to do them by themselves. But go back to the education question for a second. There's this new trend towards more personalized learning. All right, so now that we have the internet and different tools to learn, some kids learn better by watching videos, some learn better by reading, some learn better by practice problems, some learn better by collaborating with other people or working independently. Having the ability to learn using the method that matters the most to you is going to help every child get ahead, right? Being able to focus more time on the things that are challenging and fun for you will help you get ahead, right? So some concepts you might just get immediately and others might be hard, but in today's education system, you kind of need to spend the same amount of time on everything. So making it so that the education can be personalized for each person is going to be a big difference. And there are already some early studies put out by the Gates Foundation that show that even for the first set of personalized learning schools that are out there, there's probably dozens today, but not hundreds or thousands. The outcomes can be as much as 50% better a year, right? Which means that if you do 50% better 12 years in a row, then that's actually 100 times better in terms of compounding. So, if we can help do our part to make sure that these kind of new tools for teachers to do an even better job of what they love and care about every day and come into work to do, and empower students to learn what they care about, then I don't see why we wouldn't be able to get to a world by the time that our children grow up where people can learn and experience 100 times more things. Or take health. Medicine has only really been like a real science, right, for maybe about 100 years. Right? People have worked on cures and things before then, but the real kind of scientific method applied towards medicine has not been a thing for that long. And think about all the progress we've made. There are diseases that don't exist anymore, that previously killed tons of people. A lot of diseases that killed a lot of people still are around, but now we can just manage a lot better. And of all the things that we die from, there are really only a handful of major categories of things that I think that we can make a huge amount of progress on. And it's not that we'll be able to cure everything up front so that no one gets sick, but I actually think that if we invest a huge amount of resources in this as a society, then we can get to a point where our children and their children will live in a world where most or all of the diseases either have been cured or are treatable. Or there are areas like building inclusive communities. This is something in the U.S. I've been very active in immigration reform. And, coming here in Germany, I just have to say that German leadership in the refugee crisis, I think has been inspiring and is a model for the world. And I look around. I look around the world. I travel around to lots of places, and there are a lot of countries where people are turning inwards, right? Because there are challenges everywhere, and they're real challenges. But it takes courage and humanity to realize that there are people out there who need a home, and building these kind of inclusive communities is ultimately going to be the best thing for the world. And I hope that more countries follow Germany's lead on this. I hope the U.S. follows Germany's lead on this. If we in our philanthropic work can play even a small role in trying to help encourage folks around the world to achieve these things, which I really do think are possible, maybe not within our lifetimes, but hopefully within our children's, then think about how awesome that's going to be.